Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuned into Chat City with P. Ross. Conversations and interviews are in the queue. Listen or join in. Here she is, P. Ross.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again to Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross, and I am delighted and excited to have in the station with me today Mr. John Bright, also known as Pastor Bright, and his lovely wife, Miss Patsy Bright. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
These two are community activists in their community. It's a small rural community outside of Pinehurst, North Carolina. In Pine Bluff, I believe in the city of Pine Bluff, there's a small community called Addor, Addor,
Yes.
Addor, North Carolina. Hey, man, I'm telling you, I've got some good friends down in Addor, and they are doing some wonderful, tremendous things in that small community to revitalize it. And these two have their hand in doing that, and I just want to give them a house applause for taking time out of their schedules to do that, to show interest in their community and to put action into it. But before we get started into who they are and what they are doing today, I want to remind all our listeners, you have 11 days left for shopping for Christmas, 11 days. And I'm telling you that those 11 days are going to go by really, really fast. You know already.
Yes.
You know already. So, hey, are you two ready for Christmas?
Well, we all just about ready. I think we probably got about 2 or 3 more on the list that Santa Claus is looking to see.
All right. How about you, Pastor Bright?
We're ready. We're ready for it to come and go.
I'm sorry, she was speaking for the both of you, but I just wanted to hear your voice too.
Yeah, we're ready for Christmas. It's a wonderful day for us as a family, and just like we had the Thanksgiving Christmas parade last month, it's an opportunity to get Addor together and doing things together as family and friends. It's just a wonderful time, wonderful season.
And let me tell you about this Addor Christmas parade that these two are involved in. I'm gonna tell you, I wasn't ready to get into it right now, but since you brought it up, we're gonna go ahead and talk about it now. This Christmas parade has been wonderful. I've had the opportunity to experience it 2 times. And I came in as a vendor on both occasions. The first time I called and asked, could I be a part when I saw it? And then I was thrilled and excited when I was I had got a message, hey, you've been requested at the Aberdeen, I keep saying Aberdeen, Addor Christmas parade. So I was very delighted to come back and take part in that. And I mean, it was just a joy to see how the community came together and did some things. Before we go into more, I want our listeners to know who you two are and what it is that you do. I have advertised John as Pastor John Bright, a community activist. He's also a retired Army reservist. And I don't know if he knows this or not, but he's very well respected in the community. I mean, the moment I put the second posting up on social media that you were going to be our speaker today, man, I mean, I got thumbs up and hearts and, all kind of stuff. And, oh, man,
Wonderful.
This is going to be good. And so I'm pretty sure we got some people watching on Facebook Live. All right. So, John, I've gave you a little bit of an introduction. Tell our listeners more about who you are.
Well, first of all, I thank God for this opportunity. And, just like a lot of us out there, sometimes it takes a while for the Lord to be a part of your life. But right now, he's the soul of my inspiration. And I just always praise him and lift him up because that's what gave me the heart to do what I'm doing now for the Addor community. There was a time I was raised in that community, and I just know that community can be so much better. But my background comes from, as Pauline said, I'm retired from the U.S. military, 26 years in the Army. I also was a manager at Caterpillar Incorporated in Sanford, North Carolina. And I ran my own business for many years, me and my wife. But even though we don't physically live in Addor anymore, our heart is in Addor. You know, as we always still think about home and how home used to be. And being an activist for the Addor community has truly been a blessing. And we're not done yet. We got so many things that we want to get accomplished in this short span of time that we have, because we never know how long we're going to be here. But we always strive to help another generation to be prepared to carry on the vision and the purpose of community, because especially in the black community, we have so many places where our youth are not being or are being exposed to some things that they don't need to be exposed to. And by having a community center, when I grew up, that was the hub for the Addor community, to have a place to go, recreation, education, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, you name it, the Addor Community Center was everything that was all we had, but was all we needed. And I just feel sorry for the generation now in the last 20 years. They haven't been able to experience that lifelong feeling that I have in me. And I just want them to have that opportunity to get to the point where they can embrace that community, love it, and also speak about it and share it with others and let others know we might live in the rural side of Moore County, but we are strong, proud, and we are people just like everybody else, and we deserve to be treated like everybody else.
Amen to that. Now, to give you some idea of Addor and where it's located in Moore County. So, Addor lies outside of prestigious Pinehurst, North Carolina. And if you know anything about Pinehurst, it's synonymous for golf. Golf, big golfing community. And it's growing. Well, I see a little change in it now. Everybody used to say there's nothing but old money down there in Pinehurst, but I see a little bit of change. I don't know if you two have noticed it, but I'm seeing younger military families come into the community. So things seem to change. I mean, it's like not it doesn't have that old, I don't know, like that historic feel to it as much anymore. It's more like it's modernized a little bit, if you ask me. But like a lot of other small communities that surround Pinehurst, and mainly the African American communities, there is some concern of gentrification happening into the communities. Is that what Addor is concerned about as well?
Yeah, yes, to a degree. But while we're speaking on that, another project that I got started in the Addor community for that very reason, what you're talking about. There was a family that had some land for sale. It was 9 acres of land in Addor. I purchased that land about 5 years ago. And I purchased that land for one reason only. I didn't need the land because I have land in Addor and I have a home in Aberdeen. Have a house in Aberdeen. Addor is my home. But I purchased that land, and what I did with it, by the grace of God, I purchased that land and I sold it back to Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
So, in 2025, there will be 12 brand new homes built in the Addor community for exactly what you're talking about, because if we're not careful, gentrification will overcome rural communities like Addor. And another reason for that is also the fact that if we don't bring in some new citizens in the Addor community to build it up, we won't qualify for certain federal things, because once you get so many people in the community, the federal government has to give you support because of that. But when your population is down to maybe a couple of hundred people, you don't get much attention. But also, it's also to help other people. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. But
To help people.
Right. The community center, that's what it did. It helped people. It gave them hope, happiness, and healing in this pain that they're going through. And so many people are going through so much pain now. We got our own Israel situation right here in America.
Say that again.
We got our own Israel situation right here in America.
Yes, I agree.
And so we just have to learn how to work together. And that's brotherhood and sisterhood is how we'll get to the top of that mountain that we have to climb.
Yes. Work
All right.
together.
Okay, so I'm gonna take you back to a memory I have. You may not remember me being there at this meeting. Maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a developer, a big time developer, that had purchased a piece of property in Pine Bluff, formerly known as a country club, I think, of some type, a small country club, that now has a structure on it that was converted into a hotel. And this developer that wasn't from the area but has a lot of ties to Moore County, he was looking at putting, I think it was apartments.
Yes.
Nearby, which Addor like lies right on the line of that. And of course, there was a process that you had to go through before they were actually able to come in and do that. And the process was first alert the community of what the plans are, which was, I think, rezone that area so that this developer could do what he wanted to do. Well, in the community meeting, if it wasn't the community meeting, it was actually the one in the county seat in Carthage.
Yes.
You stood up for Addor. I mean, and you were on fire, man. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember.
And I don't want to call any names of the developer because I, just put it this way, I was in a situation where I was representing the hotel. I was just in there for them. And not that I was... I'll just put it that way. I'll leave it like that. I was a representative for the hotel at that particular time. And I had to sit in on those meetings. And man, like I said, you were on fire for them. You stood up for your community and you really blasted that developer. Let's talk about that.
The thing about it is, there was a hidden agenda. Okay. Me, myself, being retired military and knowing how the military functions, and I love the military. There's nothing wrong with the military, but you can take anything good and turn it into something bad. Well, what he was truly trying to do, well, right below the Addor community, right on the county line of Richmond County and Moore County, is Camp McCall. Okay, at Camp McCall, that's where the Special Forces do their training at. And what he was really trying to do was to get that apartment complex built over there, because what he knew will happen if I do that, the federal government will supply us with enough customers from the Special Forces group to be consistent paymasters, and we don't have to worry about the money because the federal government's going to take care of it, because they'll start a contract with you. And that's really what he was at. It was not about anything or anybody but himself. And selfishness will always get you in a mess. And that's exactly what it was about. And he also wanted to take land that other people had there in the Addor community that would have pushed up even closer. And all it would have been was a big fence up there to block out Addor from the development that they were trying to do. There was no interest about Addor at all other than to get all the land that they could.
I tell you, man, you are a good pillar for your community. If you hadn't linked up with this gentleman here, I recommend that you do so ASAP if you're from there. Miss Patsy, do you have something you want to say at this moment?
I'll just say, as for me with Addor, I grew up in Addor, right along, that's where I met my husband. And I'm retired from social services. So with that, it gives me the opportunity as living in Addor and growing up there. I know also what that community center meant to the community. We had many activities that we did out there, and it was something that we look forward to, being able to go out to that community, meet your friends, shoot some ball, play baseball. That was the thing that we had going up there then. But like now, we look at the children. They have nowhere to go. They don't have anything to do that keeps them out of trouble in the community. So that's what we want for Addor community. It's basically, we know we're not going to be here forever, but we like to leave that legacy that we really stood up and fought for that community to have what they needed.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross. I have with me today Pastor John Bright, a community activist, along with his lovely wife, Patsy Bright. We are discussing the works that they are doing in the Addor community, a small rural community that lies outside of Pinehurst, North Carolina, known as Addor. All right. So the community center. Now, is that community center the formal Rosenwald School?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Rosenwald built school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, John, do you want to enlighten our listeners about the Rosenwald School?
No, yes, not a problem at all.
Okay.
First of all, we don't have enough Julius Rosenwalds in this world now.
Uh-huh.
Julius Rosenwald was a rich man. He was actually part of, at that time, the Sears and Roebuck Company.
Uh-huh.
And what he did, he saw the mistreatment and neglect of black children in the rural South not receiving a decent education. And what he did, he started with the Sears Roebuck Company. They had a package deal, but when you could build a house or something. And they also did the same thing with communities. But the thing about it, what he also did, even though he was helping people start these schoolhouses, each community had to contribute some sweat equity and some funds of their own.
Okay.
Which was a great thing because, you know, you can't always have a handout and don't be willing to reach back to the other person too.
That's right.
You know, and so that was part of that process. And what he did, he started those schools up, and it's because of Mr. Rosenwald that so many blacks that didn't have any education at that time learned how to read, write, and start a lifestyle just like the rest of America, have an opportunity to climb the ladder. And he was just a philanthropist, and he was a man that when he died physically broke.
Wow.
Because he spent all his money on other people, trying to help other people.
Wow.
But the Rosenwald Foundation still stands to this day, and that's a wonderful thing. But like I said, we need some more Julius Rosenwalds.
Yes, and just like the one that's in Addor community, that school was actually built in 1944. And we have, 1922. And we have two citizens still living that attended school there?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, let's hand clap that. Okay, and I also know that Julius Rosenthal.
Rosenwald.
Rosenwald. He partnered with Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington, yes, he did.
In order to do these schools, and I don't think it was just schools; it was also housing for the teachers, and I want to say maybe some businesses or shops, small shops as well.
Right.
And in my research, I find that there were like over 5,000 of these structures built under his name. And like you said, he went broke. I didn't know he went broke at the end of the day, but all that giving, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And another reason why we're trying to restore the Addor Community Center, there's only 2 left in Moore County. And the Addor Community Center is really the only one that's truly standing. And so, and another thing too, with the growth, kind of what you spoke about earlier today, North Carolina is in the top 5 fastest growing states in the United States right now. And Moore County is in the top 7 fastest growing counties in North Carolina. And so with that population growth, there's going to be a lot more people. Well, we're seeing it every day. I mean, that Mayberry field of what Pinehurst used to have, that's gone, you know. Barney Fife can't handle this, you know. So, but we're looking at the fact that with that growth, the Addor Community Center could also be a tourist attraction. Because there is a percentage of blacks coming back to Moore County also. And we need to always keep aware and be able to share our heritage and where we came from.
Right.
Because if you don't know where you came from, you might end up back there yourself.
That's like nearby Taylortown, the Taylortown community. I mean, they became incorporated some years ago. and they have, I think they preserve the Dumas Taylor House, which the name that Taylor Town gets its name from, or the person that Taylor Town gets its name from, Dumas Taylor, who started that town there. He was I think a black slave that was here working for those at nearby Pinehurst or whatever. I can't repeat the story verbatim, but yeah. So that's good. A tourist attraction for others, to come by and see.
Yeah, because Moore County has a fair share of historical buildings themselves, and we've reached out to the Moore County Historical Society, and they've tried to help us in certain ways, and so we're still working with them to because they don't have a lot of funds either, but they do have connections, and a lot of times that's all you need is a good connection with somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and so. We're working together, and I think the pilot newspaper for the advertisement that they've shown about us within the last 5 years, we've had about 4 or 5 different advertisements on the paper, letting people know about that. Also the Pine Straw magazine, we did an article that really kind of opened the doors up back in 2018, I think it was, when that article came out, and because like I say, people don't realize what you're going through if it's not relieved to them. If no one speaks up on it, it'll just continue to be the way it is. And so that's one reason why we're trying to be advocates for the Addor community, and also to be an example of other communities. One example of that is the Midway community in Aberdeen. I don't know the depth of that, but that community had to go pretty much through the same thing. And they got developed, and they got habitat housing over there now, and that's because there was a time when the Addor community in Midway, if you lived in Addor or Midway, everybody kind of looked down on you. And we should never look down on anybody.
Right.
We're all equal in the sight of God, and especially what's going on in the world today. We've got so much internal hatred for the wrong reasons. It's wrong to hate, period, but you got some internal desires to segregate us again in a certain way, and not just us, not just black people as by class, not by color. There's a lot of people want to be separated by class, not by color, and that's just not right. It's not right.
Now, here's my question for you. I know you two say you don't live in the Addor community any longer, but you strongly go back and support it. What about those that do live in the Addor community? Do you see any support from those that reside there, especially towards this project of the it's called what's the name of the school now? It's a Rosenwald School, but
it's the Addor Community Center now.
Addor Community Center, but what was its what school name was it known by?
It was the Addor School.
Okay, it was Addor School. All right. So is anyone from the community, are you seeing a lot of support from the community, those that live there?
But yes, I tell you what I can do. And when we first started this, renewed the board, because there was about an 8-year gap when there was no board for the community center.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons how it fell in the state that it's in now with disrepair and everything. So we got a committee started back in 2015, and what I did a survey in the Addor community, and I asked four different questions. The first question was, what would you like to see done with the Addor Community Center? I had restore, build a new center, turn it into a recreational area, or nothing at all. 54% of the people said they wanted it restored. The second question I asked on the survey was, how would you like to see the jurisdiction of Addor in the future? Remain under the county, incorporated, or annexed with Pine Bluff? 56% of the people said remain under the county. The third question I asked on the survey was, would you like to see a Habitat for Humanity build homes in Addor? 86% of the people said yes. And the fourth question I asked was, would you like to see water and sewer extended to all of Addor? And 84% of the people said yes. The reason I brought this survey up was, as I walked around from house to house asking these questions, the people saw that somebody was really caring about the Addor community.
Yes.
Because there was a gap when there was no Addor government. And so with that being said, and also by being well known there, that helps some too. But the Addor community, just like any other community, no matter how it looks, they really deep down want to be better. And so with that, going back to your question, that put fire in others' hearts and minds to start wanting to do something themselves. So we've had cleanups, we've had get-togethers, and one thing also that I did at that time, it was we didn't have anywhere to go, and so we had to find a way to have events. And the Lord placed upon my heart at that time to just connect the churches to the community, connect the churches and the community together. And by the grace of God, all the churches in the Addor community gave us funds to hold a spring fest and a fall fest every year. And the reason we started doing that was because those children that lived in the Addor community, I remember when we were going to school, when you first come back to school, the teacher would ask, well, what did you do during the summer? What did you do, like that? And those kids in Addor, they didn't have anything to say.
Wow.
They had nothing to say about their community. So when that started, that gave them some hope. And from that point on, from 2015 to now, we've been steadily making progress. And people have bought into, people have given funds to help support the Addor community, to help in the restoration project. I don't call names who did, but some of them gave some nice, generous donations. But at the same time, it's going to take a mass amount of money. Even with the grant money we have received, the restoration project, due to inflation from after COVID, we're somewhat short of what we originally needed to get the project done. But we're going to make it happen.
Hey, what you started already is remarkable, and I'm very confident in what you're doing, and it's such a great model for other communities that have the same aspirations to do for their communities, such as you two have done. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross, and I have with me today Pastor John Bright and his lovely wife, Patsy Bright. They are members of the Addor Community Center in Pine Bluff, North Carolina, outside of Pinehurst. All right. So you two have, let me ask you this. What did you do to get the committee that you have now? I know you said, I think maybe you had one in the beginning, it kind of dissolved, and now you're with a new one.
Yes. What we did, we had a community meeting, and we said, well, we need to start a board from the Addor Community Center because we knew that we had to have the community center functioning, even if it wasn't functioning, but at least a body in place. And so when we did that, we were able to, we got a board started, and some of the people that was on actually the first committee I was talking about was called Addor and Action Committee. That was a committee, and a good friend of mine, Coach Cook, was on that board with us at that time for that committee.
Corny Cook.
Okay. Yeah, he was on that board, that committee for a while. And then we transferred from the Addor and Action Committee to starting up the Addor Community Center board again. And so we started out, the president at that time was Bob Core, and the vice president was Kenny Washington. I was the treasurer, as I am to now. My wife was secretary, and Deacon Bobby Little was a parliamentarian. Well, Mr. Core, he moved to Illinois, so now Mr. Kenny Washington is the president of the Addor Community Center. Deacon Bobby Little is the vice president. I'm still the treasurer. My wife is still secretary, and now Lee Sherelle Lambert is the parliamentarian on the board.
Awesome.
And then her daughters they are the entertainment and hospitality committee that help us, in those areas.
And those two ladies
and social media.
Yeah, those two ladies are wonderful. I've had them on the show here before with me. Ajana, she's been here twice, I think, two times. Yeah, and I've worked with them closely before in the past. Great ladies. And, like I said, this I was very excited and thrilled about that portion of what they've done for the community and with the community so far. And I think that's really great and smart to add that little entertainment piece. Entertainment is next to my heart.
Yeah.
But to see that piece, I mean, it just, I think, adds to what you're trying to do, you know. In reading about the school from those publications that you mentioned earlier, and we talked about Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington, I learned that there was an original photograph of Julius Rosenwald. Excuse me. I know a lady named Miss Rosenthal, so I keep saying Rosenwald.
Okay.
And, okay, so I hear that there was an original photograph from when the school was built, placed inside the structure there, and it's been removed so it could be preserved. Have you seen that photograph of him?
Yes, we have. In fact, as a matter of fact, that photograph, we've got it at our home.
Oh, it's your home. Okay.
Yes. So we can have it restored to go back in the building once it's restored. Once the building is restored, we're going to put that photograph back in there.
Awesome. I would love to see that. You know, I think that's exciting when you have something from that long ago and a person that had a hand in putting forth effort into your community and on that level that he's on.
Yeah, we're trying to archive, everything that we can from the past so that, we'll have that history, because we want to have like an area where we can have like a small museum of what the, school used to be. So we really want to make it inviting for not only the Addor citizens, but citizens from all out the state of North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. So you've had some alums to come out of that school too that I read. Mr. Philip McMillan.
Yes.
He was the first black principal of an integrated school in Moore County, North Carolina.
Yes.
And I remember Mr. McMillan because he was a Pinecrest principal. I think. I don't know if it was the year I entered into Pinecrest or maybe he had already moved on to different things by the time I did in 1983. But I definitely remember Mr. McMillan.
Yes, matter of fact, the president of the board of the Addor Community Center right now, Kenny Washington, that's his uncle.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then there was a Marshall Campbell who graduated in 1939 from North Carolina A&T. Why are you laughing?
That gentleman was a person that was determined. You have to be determined to walk to school. I mean, walk miles and miles and miles. And he never gave up. And people said he would never amount to anything, but he stuck with it, and he graduated from that school. He graduated from that college. And he's a wonderful example how a lot of youth and older people too can follow, because without faith, works is dead. Mr. Campbell was a wonderful example. Well,
we're going to applaud their effort. And just to know, they started right there in Addor, North Carolina, and went on to do wonderful things, starting at one of those Rosenwald schools. I got it right that time, Rosenwald School. Now, we said there were only 2 of the Rosenwald schools left. There were over 5,000 built, I think 16 in Moore County, and 2 remaining.
In Moore County, yes.
Moore County. Do you know all the 16 schools
Not
that
off
were
top.
there?
No, I don't. No, not off the top of my head. But they were probably in places like some of the more rural areas. It might have been one around Eastwood or Robbins, somewhere in those types of areas.
I'm starting to believe it's Eastwood now because I've heard and that's where I'm from.
Southern Pines had one.
Southern Pines. So is it the one that's right across from what is now the Cultural Center?
Exactly.
Now? Okay,
same location.
That same location. Okay. All right. That's interesting. So now I'm on a hunt to see where all these schools were. Because like I said, I've heard several people, even my grandmother, say things about little bitty Eastwood that was there. And everybody talked about this school that I've never seen any structure of it, but I've heard several people mention it.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, probably areas like Vass and maybe even Carthage might have had one.
All right. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. I'm your host, P. Ross. I have with me today Pastor John Bright and his lovely wife, Patsy Bright. They are activists in their community, a small rural black town outside of Pinehurst, North Carolina, in Moore County. They are doing such wonderful things along with a team of people on their committee to help revitalize their community. What do you think about it when you ride through and you see things such as dilapidated homes and buildings in your community?
Well, it's hurtful, but I try to look for the good in anything. Those dilapidated homes, some of them are owned by people that don't live there anymore, and so it's not much anybody can do about it because it's not like the family is there to tear it down or anything. But at the same time, I just go by what the Bible says. When the Bible says, "Where there's no vision, the people shall perish." And my vision is to find ways that we can get some of that, those houses torn down, and be able to put some more habitat houses in the Addor community. And because that's why, like I said, when I sold that land to Habitat, that was the main vision for me, was to beautify that community and to put some pride back in the community. Because, it's like anything else. If you don't appreciate what you have, it'll just keep getting worse and worse.
Now, I'm sorry, go ahead, continue.
No, but I was saying that, but if things look better, people will do better.
Right. I agree.
And then, also when you look at those buildings that are going down in the community, you can't help but think about the people that live there. They were people that started the community of Addor, and our young people like to hear. If you sit down and talk with young people, really talk to them, they ask you about their past, what happened in that town, and who lived there, and what did those people do. And that means a lot to children, but, instead of just overlooking them as they got their own way, but you want to show them what their past was.
Yeah, their history. That's good. For those that may not know what a habitat home is, that you've mentioned a couple of times already on the show, explain to them what that is.
A habitat home is a home that's built, a quality built home, first of all. It's a quality built home. And the thing about habitat, you have to qualify for it. But it's really based on people that are somewhat impoverished. And what they do, they give you an opportunity to have a home that you can afford. They do a wonderful job of preparing people to be homeowners. That's one of the things I really like about them, because you have to go through classes of learning how to be a homeowner. Because most of the people that come into a habitat house haven't owned a home. They may have been renting all their life. And it's one thing to have a landlord that takes care of everything. It's another thing for you to be a homeowner that has to take care of everything. And so they give them classes about how to be a good neighbor, how to take care of their home. They give them, they set them up with financing that makes it affordable for them to purchase the home. And they can only do so in Moore County. They can only do 12 people qualify every year. They have a meeting in August of every year, and people can just apply for the application. One thing that I've found out that hinders a lot of people is either too much credit in debt or not having steady employment. And so that's one thing. I didn't know that until I got involved with Habitat, because a lot of people say, I put in for it, never got it. But then after you start looking at their background, they find out that, it wasn't Habitat that did it. You did it to yourself.
You did it to yourself.
But at the same time, that also gives an opportunity for the Addor Community Center, because See, what we would like to do, one of the things we like to do, we like have classes or have people come in like from SCAP to come in and talk to people about their situation financially.
And SCAP, let me interject, is Sand Hills Community Action Program.
Correct.
Okay, all right. We had the director here. My very first show was the director, Nina Walker.
Nina Walker.
On the show. Okay, go ahead.
But people like Miss Walker can give a lot of the youth and olders, because it's not just young people that get habitat houses. You can be a senior citizen and get a habitat house. But training is one thing that we don't get enough of in our communities. Sharing knowledge, training, and passing down wisdom from others that came before them.
You said that right. Let me give you a house applause on that.
And just to add to that, he was saying that elders could get homes too, but it's not just, they think of it as best being females with children, and no male in the home. Well, they have complete families that are able to go into habitat homes, and also just single males gets it too. And when they mentioned about them being in about too much debt or anything like that, their habitat is also doing now, they're starting a class to show them how to get their credit back right so that they'll be able to qualify for these homes.
Okay. And I'm sure, like you said, the Aberdeen Community Center would be a source too, resource for folks to not just dance and everything like that, but get this type of information to help.
Yeah, because that's what it used to do. They had there was a boy, like I said, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, but they would also have opportunities where the NAACP would come, especially around voting seasons, to encourage people to go out and vote, or either take them to the polls, and those types of things. Another example of why they need the Addor Community Center, like a lot of communities or towns, in case of a hurricane or snowstorm, you have a place where you can go, like if the power goes out, there can be a hub for people that maybe don't have any water or power anymore to go to sustain them until everything gets repaired. And so that's another reason for that. And also the Addor Community Center, at that time back in the day, there was no large churches in Addor like Elizabeth Chapel now. And when there would be something like a major event, whether it be like a big revival or something, the smaller churches would rent the Addor Community Center so they could have things like that. Also, like sometimes with a funeral, the churches weren't big enough to hold a large family. The Addor Community Center would be the place that the churches would use to handle those large events. And so it's just so many things that we used to do. And even in modern times, one of the things they had back in the day, when big screens first came out and they weighed about 800 pounds, we would have Super Bowl parties at the Addor Community Center. And just things like that to just draw the community together, just fellowship and just have a good time.
Yeah, and also Miss Louise Cox, when she was over to Community Center, she established our first food bank. They actually had a food bank right there in Addor. So
that's a name I do remember, and I was going to bring that up somewhere in this in this piece here, because one of my best friends was Sherelle Collins, the late Sherelle Collins, who worked with Ms. Cox in establishing a youth group or some type of program.
Exactly.
Because I also did the same thing in the Eastwood community when I had moved back to the Eastwood community. And she and I teamed up together one time and got the youth together and did some things together we put the Eastwood and Addor youth together, and we took them out. We did some things with them, some nice things with them, took them out to eat. We did an overnight stay at a hotel. We talked about just life things and some of the things that you mentioned now to turn the communities around. It was a group of young ladies. And then I remember them using that Addor Community Center. It was in good shape at that time. It was in real good shape because I substituted for her too for a couple of hours down there. I'll never forget that day.
Yeah.
I had some fun with some of those fellas out there. They just had me going, but out there on that basketball court or whatever. It was something, we were playing some games outside, and they just had me going.
Right.
But yeah, so that center is very much needed there.
Yeah, and you mentioned basketball court. Another member of our board is our son Jermaine Bright, and he takes care of sports and recreation. That's his task because he does a lot of that, and that's another thing that we want to do to get the community center back to where the kids could have recreation right there at home, and just have a gathering place. And sadly and truthfully, if you don't have some guidance in the communities like that, like I said, bad things can happen because sometimes you take the larger cities, they'll come out of the larger cities and find rural areas like Addor and bring drugs into the community, things of that nature. And you got a kid walking, I'm just using Addor as an example, but you got a kid walking up down the streets and he's got nothing to do, and this guy comes up and says, hey, you do this for me, I'll get you a pair of those new Nikes, or here's a couple $100. Just take this package for me. The kid don't know. He'll take the money, get the shoes, and then now that's his buddy, that's his friend. He trusts that person. He's going to do whatever he says do. But if we had things to get children involved in, that person wouldn't have stand a chance.
And teach them to say no to drugs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, because we see that, what is happening now? I mean, I know, like it said, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
But we know as time, we that are believers of Christ, we know that time is winding up here on this earth, and better things are to come. But in the meantime, what do we do to curb some of this, these drugs and killing among our black community, men and women?
It starts with, first of all, with Christ being the role model.
Okay.
But it also starts with us having Christ in us to touch these children, male and female. And communities, like I said, back then, people worked together. And we can still do that. I know people say, well, that's the old time. Yes, it is. That's true. There are things now, but we have technology now that's like what we're doing right now. This is an opportunity to spread the word of what we're trying to achieve to so many others. And youth, if you just give them an opportunity, give them a role and a responsibility, you'd be surprised what youth can do. They just want a purpose in life just like everybody else. But we have to be good role models for them to be willing to follow us and what we're trying to get them to do.
Yes.
Piggyback off of that, Mrs. Bright.
Well, I think, yes, as he was saying, first of all, we've got to put Christ first. We've got to believe in that, and it's going to take prayer. Not just hard work. We're going to have to pray with these children and get them try our best to get them back into the church. And we know now that you can do the big church. It doesn't matter what church you're going to, what it is, but just as long as you get them to put Christ first. We've got to put God first before we can get anything done.
Yeah, and an extension of that, sometimes church can be to the point to where it's not inviting unintentionally. Because it's a different church we face now, but it's not. But it's the same God in place, and things like having recreation and things. It can be church gatherings, church goings, church events that are spiritually based. Just like with the Lambert girls, they sing wonderfully.
Yes,
and they sing in a way that's inviting for youth to hear those songs, and that's what I'm saying. See, when they see one of their own or someone closer to their age, they're more apt to follow that. And we as the seniors of the community now, we're supporting them to do what needs to be done with the ones that are out there now.
Yes.
You know what? I want to applaud you for putting someone younger than yourself out in the forefront. Not in to join forces with you. I'm not going to say out in the forefront, because a lot of times you have older populated people or older adults that want to just hold on to that position, and this is how it goes, and do it our way and do what we say and this and that and the other, and they don't care to hear the ideas of the youth or listen to what they're saying, or allow them to bring them up to what is really going on amongst them and their peers. You know, I think it's good when older adults, you know, give us that good solid foundation and that wisdom and that knowledge that we need to sustain. But it's also nice when you can also listen to what, again, like I said, the youth or younger adults have to say. And like you said, that nice blend, I think, will make a very good, strong
because
community.
If you look at what we did on Thanksgiving and Christmas parade, that was a draw from them. Most of those, the age group there was, the majority was 45 and below, on the average, 45 and below. And that's not taking anything away from the elders either, because they came out also,
right?
And they enjoy seeing the youth doing things, you know. And like I say, I've already talked to Lisa Real about this. I say, what we're doing is y'all are just in training. That's all. You're in training because we're going to turn the keys over to you all at the right time. But I said, well, what we will do, one thing that we did agree on, the seniors would be like an oversight committee. To make sure that the Addor Community Center don't get in disarray like it did before. You know, kind of like how the, you know, the three levels of government in the United States. You know, there's always some oversight to even check on the president that he can't do just anything he wants to do, like one president thought he could do. But anyway, that's just not the way things are. There's oversight. You have to have oversight in any situation.
What do you do for those people in the community? Because I've run into this. I'm going to say within my own community. I'm going to put it on blast. You set up everything for them to eat off of, or they need, all right, to learn and maybe enhance or do better or whatever. And they don't come, or they say, oh, there's not going to be a change, or they don't have any interest. How do you speak to those that just throw up their hands and say, no, it's not going to work?
Well, first of all, you don't give up.
Okay.
And then you start, why don't you feel that way? Ask them questions. Let them give input back to you. You know, put them in the seat and say, look, I want to hear your side of it. And sooner or later, they're going to say something that makes sense. And you just at least give them a taste of some of what they want to do. You know, it can't be so rigid that you can't be flexible. Because what won't bend or break, and sometimes we can be too rigid. But we have to be flexible in all that we do. You know, we know there's boundaries. Everybody's got boundaries. Everywhere you go, there's boundaries. But you know how far to go.
Our time is winding up. Let me get some more key questions in. I think that's important for this. Where are you now with the community center? Where do you stand? You've recently won a grant, I do believe, of what,
yes.
$15,000?
Yes.
All right, that's wonderful. So, what's next for the community center?
Well, what we're doing now, we're waiting on the original grant that we got. The first grant we got back in 2021 was the United States of Interior National Parks. We got that based on Hurricane Florence and Matthew, because damage was done to the community center from those two hurricanes. That's our major piece right there. But what's happening is they're having to reevaluate the assessment of what it would take to fix the building. And so what happened, we applied for the grant pre-pandemic.
Okay.
But what we got awarded during the pandemic in 2021. But what happened that's holding us back is inflation. In other words, everybody knows the price of material and everything has gone up. So you know, when you say you all awarded $700,000. Well, yeah, we were, but it's not the same $700,000 it used to be.
Right.
It's more. It's almost cut in half. And the building that we need to have done is much more than we thought as they found out went into the foundation of the building.
Wow.
But we have had the Brownson Church in Southern Pines. They gave us some grant money, and then like I said, we just got the Stedman grant in the Durham about a couple months ago. We still need more. We still need more. We're still asking for people to donate. There's a Facebook page, and also we have a GoFundMe page, Cash App, and also you can send funds in by mail. The mailing address is P.O. Box 775, Pine Bluff, North Carolina, 28373.
And are these tax deductible?
Yes, we are a 501c3.
Awesome.
Yeah, 501c3. Everything is tax deductible, and you will get a receipt of what you've given, and we will get that to you. But it's going to take a massive amount of funds to get us to where we need to go. But we're not giving up. We're not giving up.
Okay. Do you have any other projects in place to help bring the funding that you need, other than your Christmas and Thanksgiving parades and things of that nature?
Well, we're also going to some corporations, some large businesses. For example, like Lowe's, Home Depot, those type of businesses. We've also talked to our county commissioners. The time scale that we could have got some funding ran out, so we're going to try to get on board with them this coming year, that we'll be able to get some money from the county. Because I feel that Moore County should be able to help us some. They do everything they need to do, and I'm not, Moore County is fine with me, but there's a lot of things that need to be done besides build the courthouse like they're doing. I mean,
Right.
It's needed, but there's other funds. There's other funds, and we're going to have some more meetings to have fundraisers. We've done a couple of other things, but we definitely going to have the heart of people that are willing to support us. And I thank you for giving us this opportunity, because that's one of the main reasons we want to come, is to let people know what we're trying to achieve.
Okay. And I think it's a worthy cause, too, because like I said, I was amazed at the Christmas parade the last 2 years. I just thought it was wonderful. And then to see not only, there was a black community, but you had like white artists out there this time. You had American Idol participant out there. You had, shout out to Mary Stone of Supine Scenes. I saw Mary and another young lady out there, they as performers out there. It was wonderful. And then to see our Caucasian brothers and sisters out there as well, you know? So I thought that was just wonderful.
Well, the one thing that we as a people, period, all people, we got to stop saying, well, that's a white community, that's a black community, that's a red community, that's a brown community. It's a community.
It's a community.
It's a community. We all the same. We're all the same.
Yeah. Well, I have definitely enjoyed my time with you all today. Thank you for traveling so far to come here and be on Chat City with P. Ross. I would love to invite you back again and see how well you've progressed since your first visit. Okay,
thank you.
All right, this concludes our show. Thank you for tuning in. Come back and be with us on next Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chat City with P. Ross. Enjoy the rest of the week.